Someone decided to check out a derelict sports complex that had been closed for years, the kind of location where the quiet feels wrong, almost suffocating. As he moved toward a large metal door leading into the main hall, something immediately caught his attention.
Esa puerta también. ¿Vieron? Dicen que mis videos son actuados, pero están viendo, no hay nada. ¿Vieron cómo se cerró la puerta? No soy el único que mira o escucha cosas. Pero bueno. Escucha. Eso fue acá.
The door was drifting shut by itself. No breeze, nobody else around. He circled behind it and stuck his camera in the gap to investigate. Completely clear. Nothing was there. No mechanism, no explanation for why it was moving. And then the moment he crossed the threshold, it just stopped dead, frozen mid-swing, as though something had been holding off until he stepped inside.
Hijo de su puta madre. Nadie. Está cerrado. Vamos de aquí.
He returned a few days later, unable to let it go, and while recording down one of the corridors, a large wheelie bin at the far end began rolling slowly toward him on its own, before coming to a halt. No noise, no cause. He ended the footage and walked out. This wasn't just an empty building. Whatever was in there, it knew he was coming back. Paranormal investigation crew from the YouTube channel Dark Gate Area set out on a late-night visit to a secluded graveyard, carrying a deeply unsettling reputation. The place is so notorious that even local residents refuse to go near it once the sun goes down. Armed with little more than minimal lighting, the team moved through the grounds convinced they were completely alone out there. But when they went back and reviewed their footage afterward, it became clear that something else had been present with them right from the start.
محمد به خدا یه چیزی دیدم. به خدا یه چیزی سرک کشید محمد پشت.
Had they noticed at the time what their camera had picked up just behind them, there's a good chance the whole investigation would have been called off on the spot. Instead, they pressed on, and at one point a team member wandered dangerously close to the edge of a cliff, almost as though something unseen was responding to their intrusion.
محمد بغلت محمد به خدا بغلت بود.
As the night wore on, the person behind the camera started picking up a strange light anomaly drifting unpredictably around his colleague. It appeared to loop and inch closer, as though something was studying them from nearby and biding its time. When the group stepped inside an old structure, sitting within the cemetery grounds, the entire mood shifted in an instant. The building no longer felt vacant. It felt inhabited, like something was already there waiting, and unusual activity began making itself known throughout the space. Whatever occupied that building wasn't content with simply being observed. It made its presence physically felt. That's what pushed the experience into truly disturbing territory, because the dread was no longer just a thought in the back of their minds. It was the unmistakable sensation that something had already closed the distance between them. A security guard was working the overnight shift at the San Francisco Armory when he picked up on an unusual sound and pulled out his camera. The entire building was vacant at the time. He moved carefully in the direction of the noise, coming to a halt just outside a shut door. What happened next stopped him cold.
Oh, hell no. This is what I'm talking about, dude. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. I'm here in this building by myself, bro. By myself.
Without any warning, the door swung open on its own, sending the officer stumbling back in shock. Nobody else was present in the building. He would later note that fellow guards had experienced comparable incidents before, making this yet another entry in a growing list of things nobody could explain. A Reddit user, going by the name Palin98TX, uploaded 2 videos to the Ghost subreddit, featuring some deeply unsettling footage captured by a home security camera in the early hours of the morning. The recording was taken inside a bedroom on what looked like a perfectly normal, unremarkable night. Everything appears calm and still at first, but if you keep your eyes fixed on the door, something odd begins to reveal itself. Almost immediately, down in the lower right corner where the door meets the floor, a dark shape can be seen sliding across the narrow gap underneath it. The shadow has the look of something crouching low or peeking through the gap before darting back out of frame. It's easy to miss at first, but the moment it registers, you can't look past it. The uploader then shared a follow-up clip taken from that same camera, and in it, the identical type of shadowy movement shows up once again along the base of the door, as though whatever was lurking on the other side made another brief approach, before withdrawing into the dark. The person who posted the videos noted that no pets or children live in the home, which left him completely unable to account for what could have been moving out there. A number of commenters suggested the shadow looks like a small entity or some kind of shadow figure, cautiously scoping out the room before slinking away. Whatever it turns out to be, spotting a humanoid shadow creeping beneath your bedroom door in the dead of night would rattle just about anyone. And if it happened twice, there's a good chance sleep would feel very far away. For the past 5 years, a woman named Sylvia claims her life has been made unbearable by terrifying poltergeist activity throughout her home. And of all the rooms in the house, the kitchen appears to be the epicenter of the haunting. Growing increasingly desperate for answers, Sylvia eventually launched a YouTube channel to record the unsettling events, objects shifting on their own, things crashing to the ground, and deeply disturbing moments that seem to back up everything she's been saying. But then something unexpected happened. The activity just stopped. The house fell completely silent, and according to Sylvia, her neighbors then started reporting strange and inexplicable events in their own home, as though whatever had been terrorizing her had simply packed up and moved next door. But that sense of relief was short-lived, because the dark presence soon appeared to find its way back to the one place she dreads most, her kitchen.
My phone on because I've been hearing some strange noises in the kitchen. I saw some things moving on the drain again. And so, Spirit in the kitchen, can you see me? Can you hear me? Are you there? I saw something move on the drainer board, guys, and I'm sure I saw something move on the counter. Spirit in the kitchen. Did you hear that, guys? Heard something. What was that? Spirit in the kitchen. Oh my god, guys. There's some movement there. There's some movement there. Something's happening. Spirit in the kitchen. Are you pleased to be back in my kitchen? You went to neighbours, didn't you? And you didn't like her, did you? You didn't like the neighbour. So you've come back to me, haven't you? Haven't you? kitchen. Oh my god, guys. Spit in the kitchen, he just threw a knife. What does that mean? Does that mean you didn't like your neighbour? Or are you pleased to be back in my kitchen? Oh my god, guys. He's back. Right. Spit in the kitchen. What does that mean? Do you still love me? And guys, I don't know what to think. I'm scared and pleased at the same time. Right guys, I'm glad I caught.
Sylvia attempted to make contact with whatever was lurking there, and it wasn't long before she got some kind of response. Out of nowhere, a knife launched itself off the counter and clattered onto the floor. Shaken but unwilling to back down, she moved in for a closer look. That's when things escalated. The blade began to shift on its own, slowly rotating inch by inch across the floor until it came to rest pointing directly at her. The whole moment felt less like a scare and more like a threat, and if this haunting is genuine, then whatever is occupying Sylvia's kitchen may no longer be content with simply frightening her. It may be making clear just how dangerous it truly is. What would you do if you came back home to find something waiting in your backyard that you were absolutely certain wasn't there when you left? According to a user going by the name Bexman, the whole ordeal kicked off one evening when he got back from work and noticed his child was visibly frightened, eyes constantly darting toward the rear of the house, as though something back there had deeply unsettled them. Convinced something wasn't right, he grabbed his phone without hesitation and headed outside to check. But as he made his way toward a small outbuilding thought to be a storage shed, an unusual sound suddenly started drifting out from the darkness inside. Pay close attention here.
Banda, acabo de llegar. Miren, está espantada mi niña. Porque escuchen, miren, acabo de llegar, vean. Acabo de llegar de trabajar, banda. Y vean, vean, escuchen, escuchen. Ve para allá, mi amor, ve para allá. Ve para allá, mi amor. Vean, 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 vean. Aquí es donde les digo que están los jeroglíficos, miren, los pentagramas, no son los pentagramas, perdónenme, es que me equivoqué. Miren. Y ya no tienes lo que les digo, ya es puro. Miren, aquí está mi...
An eerie tune plays on repeat through the dead silence, and with every step the man takes closer, you can see his composure beginning to crack. When he finally gets near enough, the camera reveals what's been making the noise. A doll, lying on the ground, playing its melody completely on its own in the dark. Things get stranger still when he swings the camera toward the nearby wall, where a series of symbols have been scrawled across the surface. He then lifts the doll to get a better shot of it on camera, making it clear that neither he nor any member of his household had put it there, and that those markings on the wall were nowhere to be seen when the family had left earlier that same day. But this wasn't where the story wrapped up. Early the following morning, that same haunting tune started playing again, this time from the front of the house. When he opened the door to see what was going on, he stopped dead in his tracks.
Vean, ahorita estaba aquí, banda, tranquilamente, así que yo pensaba ahorita no estar subiendo nada, pero vean, para que vean que no es chiste, tranquila, mi amor, no pasa nada, ve allá con mamá. No, 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 no. Vean.
The doll was now positioned right outside the front entrance, almost as though someone had intentionally brought it there while the family slept. That detail rattled viewers more than anything else in the footage, because if the doll had genuinely been moved overnight, while the whole household was inside asleep. It would mean that someone, or something, had come back to the property in the middle of the night. Once the video made its way online, theories started flooding in from every direction. Some people figured it was probably a prank pulled off by a stranger, or someone sneaking onto the property. But plenty of others struggled to explain how anyone could slip deep onto the grounds, reposition the doll across multiple locations, and then vanish entirely without leaving a single trace behind. As for what actually happened, well, that one's yours to figure out. Now, this next clip is more than a decade old and was recorded by pointing a phone directly at a CCTV monitor, so the quality is absolutely terrible. But what it actually shows was too bizarre for me to leave off the list. This footage comes from Ciudadela Plaza in Guadalajara, Mexico. Over the years, both employees and visitors at the plaza have reported all kinds of strange, unexplained activity. Staff members say they frequently hear the sounds of a child running and laughing in the middle of the night, and numerous shoppers claim to have spotted a young boy who simply vanished right in front of them. So one night, well after the plaza had closed, security guards noticed a small boy wandering alone through the back corridors. Some of the plaza's staff sat down to review the surveillance footage, and what they found left them completely stunned. The young boy appears to pass straight through a locked closed door in one of the hallways, possibly right through the solid wall itself. A security guard was then sent to investigate, and that's where things take an even darker turn.
Mira, está. Ay, no mames. No, ¿y sabes qué? De esa manera.
The guard unlocks the door and steps inside, but the room is completely empty. Meanwhile, the workers watching the footage are left speechless as the little boy's head seems to materialize right next to the guard, apparently peering out from inside the wall just above him. So is this the same ghostly child that plaza visitors have been reporting for years? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. On what appeared to be a perfectly routine night shift, a young hospital worker started picking up on strange sounds coming from a room that should have been completely unoccupied. His first thought was that some confused patient had wandered into the wrong place, but the noises kept repeating, almost as though multiple objects were being shuffled around simultaneously. With no way to make sense of it, he decides to go check it out himself. And what he encounters in that room is something far outside the realm of ordinary.
Compañeros, hago este video porque estaba escuchando ruidos aquí atrás. Son las 3:25 de la mañana. No veo nada. Miren. Miren. Acaban de ver eso. Se acaba de caer un bote. Se está moviendo esto. No veo nada. No hay nadie por acá. No hay nadie por acá. Mala onda. Miren, se movió esto. Ahorita que venía caminando por acá y no veo a nadie. Miren, 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 miren cómo se mueve eso. Para que vean que no hay nadie aquí.
The moment he steps inside, a number of objects are visibly moving without anyone touching them. with absolutely no logical cause in sight. The mood shifts fast. The deep quiet of the hospital setting, broken by these sudden, inexplicable movements, makes the whole thing deeply unsettling. The young man later said the incident left him genuinely shaken, but there's one additional detail that pushes the story into even stranger territory. He says that particular hallway already had a reputation within the hospital for alleged paranormal activity, and just weeks before this incident, a security camera mounted in that very spot had reportedly picked up something deeply unusual. See for yourself what it recorded. In the deserted corridor, a dark, shadowy figure appears, drifting slowly through the space. It moves in an eerie, unnatural way, barely making contact with the floor, before suddenly rising upward and vanishing into the very same room where, weeks later, the objects would begin moving on their own. It's precisely this link between the two pieces of footage that convinced so many viewers the events might be connected. Hospitals are spaces defined by suffering, grief, and emotionally overwhelming moments. Perhaps that's exactly why so many accounts of apparitions and unexplained phenomena tend to surface in environments like this one. But the central question remains wide open. Is this real evidence of poltergeist activity, or is there a rational explanation lurking somewhere beneath the surface? This next clip has been spreading like wildfire across social media platforms over the past few weeks. Back in April 2020, a large group of residents from a neighborhood in the United States stepped outside late at night after noticing a bizarre object moving through the sky above them.
It's a UFO for real! No, we not making this shit up! Look at her, she gonna put It's a UFO for real, y'all! That is crazy! Y'all, that's crazy! It's a UFO for real, y'all! I promise y'all! Look, we got all these people. There ain't no damn street light! My uncle talking about that's a street light. That ain't no street light, bro. That's a UFO. This a fucking street light right here. This the fucking street light. That ain't no fucking street light.
Nobody could believe what they were looking at, a glowing, unidentified object drifting overhead. Throughout the footage, you can hear voices in the crowd insisting that what they were witnessing was a UFO. What gives this story even more weight is the fact that a single camera wasn't the only one rolling. Multiple separate recordings emerged from different individuals scattered across the same city, all capturing the exact same thing.
It's a UFO for real, y'all!
So was this genuinely an extraterrestrial craft, the way so many people are convinced it was? Or is there a more down-to-earth explanation? Drop your theories in the comments below. A video posted to a local Facebook group captures footage filmed at roughly 9:15 in the evening somewhere in New Zealand. The person behind the camera originally just wanted to record a distant lightning and thunderstorm, but they may have ended up catching something far more unusual.
Holy crap, come look at this! Honest to God.
Midway through the footage, an intensely bright white light appears on the left side of the frame, drifting slowly across the sky. Then, somewhere between the 41-second mark and the 1-minute mark, the object appears to come to a complete halt, hovering in place for several seconds before continuing on its way. The first thing that grabs your attention is just how powerful that light is. It bears no resemblance to a standard aircraft. There are no flashing indicators, no red signal light, and no discernible structure, just a brilliant white glow. That brief moment where the object simply stops only adds to the intrigue. For many viewers, that kind of behavior doesn't line up with how a conventional aircraft moves, almost as though whatever this is operates under a completely different set of rules. Then again, distance and optical zoom can play serious tricks on the eye. A drone, a helicopter, or even a plane flying directly toward the camera could easily show up as nothing but a solid white light. Either way, when you factor in both that extraordinary brightness and that unexplained pause in the sky, this footage is genuinely hard to account for. Middle-aged couple relocated to an isolated cabin near Lake Michigan in the United States. Their daughter had grown up, started her own family, and moved out, so the two of them decided to settle into what they imagined would be their perfect retirement home. That dream, however, didn't quite pan out the way they'd hoped. Shortly after arriving, they began encountering what they believed to be paranormal activity. It started with strange sounds coming from outside. Initially, they brushed it off as wildlife rustling through the bushes or branches swaying in the wind, but soon they were hearing voices drifting from empty rooms and witnessing objects shifting on their own. All of it left them asking the same question: could this place actually be haunted? Then, late one winter night, they were jolted awake by horrifying sounds pouring out of the surrounding woods. The husband leapt out of bed to figure out what was going on, but couldn't make out a thing in the darkness. The sounds kept coming, so he grabbed his phone and hit record.
Wait for it. Listen. Trees are just falling left and right. Sounds like a war zone out here. These are the ones that I'm concerned about.
Rather than risk heading outside, they held tight until daylight to take a look around, and what they found near the house stopped them cold. Dozens of trees had been knocked down, but not in any way that looked natural. They appeared to have been wrenched straight out of the earth by some invisible force. Just a few days after that discovery, the wife was alone in the house when she noticed one of the ceiling lights flickering on and off. She pulled out her phone and started filming, intending to send the footage to her husband.
Of the weird, strange occurrences at our house. Right now, this light has been steadily blinking for about 20 minutes and maybe 10, and I just don't understand why. Okay, now it's like not blinking at all. I guess it's okay now. But that and the hearing the voices and stuff sometimes. Hello? 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 Who's here? Who's here? Okay, I'm kind of freaked out. Going back inside the house. See what I mean, though? This is the stuff I'm talking about. Like, why is this stuff happening? I'm really thinking about moving away. I think that we should move away. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Already unsettled by the flickering light, she was absolutely terrified when a chair slid across the floor by itself. Then a drawer snapped open and slammed shut, with no one near it. She screamed and bolted, completely convinced that everything happening was connected to something beyond explanation. In the video, she can even be heard mentioning the voices and saying she wants to leave. Following that harrowing experience, the couple dug into the history of the land their home sat on, and what they uncovered left them shaken. The property had been built over the remains of an old shack, one that local law claimed was once home to a malevolent witch who had lived there centuries earlier. According to legend, she placed a curse on the land before being driven away. The couple now believes her spirit is what's been tormenting them, and they are seriously weighing whether to pack up and leave for good. The following video was originally posted on July 10th, 2022 by a TikTok creator going by the name Diego Spickers. For a good while now, unsettling whispers have been circulating through one otherwise peaceful neighborhood, the kind of talk that only gets passed around in low voices and nervous glances. Locals describe something that moves through the streets late at night, not frantically, not without purpose, but progressing from house to house with what seems like calculated intention. In certain accounts, it reportedly lingers outside specific homes just long enough to look in through the windows before fading back into the dark. Initially, most people chalked it up to overactive imaginations or rumors snowballing out of control. But once several neighbors started independently describing the exact same thing, those stories became a lot more difficult to brush aside. Then, on one particular night, a man coming back to his tattoo shop had an encounter of his own, one that made every one of those rumors suddenly feel very grounded in reality. He had headed upstairs to the rooftop terrace to retrieve some laundry that had been left out to dry. As he makes his way toward it, he abruptly spots a figure close by. And what gives the moment its real weight isn't just the sighting on its own, it's how precisely it lines up with everything his neighbors had already been describing. After sharing the footage with people nearby, several of them said they'd witnessed something comparable, a presence briefly materializing outside windows, silently observing, then disappearing before anyone could get close. That's the point where the paranormal theories start taking hold. There are those who believe this figure may be connected to the deeper history of the area, something ancient, something that never quite found its resolution. Our next clip takes us to Mexico, where a man has stayed behind in a commercial building after hours and is recording as he walks the empty halls. He picks up on strange noises coming from the direction of the public restrooms and decides he has to check it out. What unfolds from that point on is guaranteed to make your skin crawl. See for yourself.
Hello? 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 Are you here? Where are you? The lights turn on. Are you playing with the switch?
Are you playing with the... Huh?
I need another test. I need another test. Oh.
You can distinctly make out the sound of faucets switching on with no one near them, and then the hand dryer kicks in on its own. Things escalate quickly when one of the stall doors violently slams shut without explanation. But here's the part you really need to catch. The instant he enters the room, a dark silhouette surges up from behind him before shooting off to the left and vanishing entirely. So was this the presence behind all of that strange activity? Or could the whole thing have been carefully staged from the start? A man named Daniel had a passion for venturing into abandoned locations with reputations for being cursed or haunted. One evening, he made his way into an old subterranean tunnel covered wall to wall in cryptic symbols and graffiti. After he got back home, unsettling things started unfolding inside his apartment. He began noticing footsteps coming from empty rooms, doors creaking open on their own, and a persistent knocking from behind the locked door of a spare room deep in the night. Convinced someone had broken in, Daniel grabbed his camera and went room to room searching the place. Here's what his camera recorded.
Grabando porque estoy escuchando otra vez los sonidos. Escuche. ¿Qué cojones? ¡Hostia! Coño, se acaba de encender otra vez el aparato ese. ¿Qué cojones? ¿Por qué encenderse eso? ¡Hostia! Hola?
Every single room turned up completely empty. Then, just a few nights after that, he picked up on something that stopped him cold. See for yourself what he captured.
Soy un niño. No hay nadie. Empiezo a grabar porque estoy escuchando sonidos desde el baño muy raros y estoy solo en casa. Dentro del baño. ¿Qué cojones?
It sounded like a small child softly weeping somewhere near the bathroom. As he crept closer, the shower curtain shifted on its own, as though someone was concealed just behind it. Overcome with fear, Daniel yanked it open immediately, only to be met with total silence and an empty tub. So where exactly did that childlike voice come from? And what was lurking behind that curtain? To this day, it still remains. Paranormal investigator Alex, from the YouTube channel Hunting the Unknown, ventures into a derelict restaurant somewhere in England that has sat completely empty for more than 2 decades. According to reports, the previous owners fled the property after being driven out by relentless and terrifying paranormal encounters. The building is tucked away deep within woodland, crumbling and cut off from the outside world. Alex goes in by himself, in the dead of night, and positions a motion-activated music box inside the bar area. Almost right away, the location makes its presence known.
I've got the music box set up at the moment. Just do a little walkthrough. Hello?
A fixed camera records a door swinging shut with a violent slam, entirely on its own. Alex then launches into a spirit box session, reaching out in hopes of making contact.
Where are you? Can you give me a sign, please? Oh,
He calls out for some kind of sign, and moments later, bottles sitting on the bar appear to topple over without anyone touching them. But as he steps in for a closer look, the camera picks up something far more unsettling.
I don't understand how these were locked down. It's crazy, I don't understand this. I'm pretty sure this was like that. Hello?
Who's that?
A dark, shadowy figure materializes in a room directly opposite where Alex is standing. He doesn't catch it at first, but as he makes his way toward the doorway, an unmistakable sense of dread washes over him. He searches the room and finds absolutely nothing, yet the sensation of being watched refuses to leave him. With that, alone in this remote and crumbling structure, Alex decides he's pushed his luck far enough and gets out. One morning, a man woke up to find his front door standing wide open. His stomach sank instantly as his mind jumped straight to the worst possible scenarios. Desperate to figure out what had gone on overnight, he pulled up the footage from his living room security camera, but what he found on that recording only made things worse.
D. Front. Door. Center. Center is open. Disarm now.
The front door slowly swung open all on its own. No one was pushing it, no one was standing in the doorway. Nothing visible could explain the movement. Some might argue the door frame had shifted or warped somehow, but here's the thing. The homeowner had locked that door the night before, just as he does every single night before heading to bed. The fact that it somehow came open with absolutely no one around is enough to give just about anyone a serious case of the creeps. This next clip comes from the TikTok account shown here on screen. The account is run by a woman who goes by Tay. She and her partner had checked into a hotel in Santa Barbara, California, as part of a holiday getaway. It was their first night at the property, and things felt completely ordinary to begin with. Deep in the night, while Tay was sound asleep, she was jolted awake by what sounded like a whisper directly next to her ear. At that very moment, her boyfriend happened to be coming back into the room, so she figured it was probably him talking on his phone and didn't dwell on it. But before either of them got any real rest, they would both go through something neither could make sense of.
Hotel Marmonte in Santa Barbara, and my boyfriend and I had really weird experiences last night. And I'm gonna try to speed run this, but basically mine was kind of weird, his was really weird. So mine was basically that I was in a dead sleep and I woke up because I heard someone talking, and it sounded like they were either right by my ear or on speakerphone somewhere near my head. And then I heard my boyfriend come back in the room, like the door closed, and I was like, oh, okay, he's on a phone call. And I chose to disregard it and fall back asleep. So this morning I mentioned it, and he's like, no, I didn't take any phone calls last night. Like, I don't know. I just kind of figured because he's a firefighter, his crew's up at all hours of the night. It could be anything, anyone, whatever. He goes, no, but I did leave the room to go down to the lobby, so you probably heard me come back. And I said, why'd you go to the lobby? He goes, because I was really freaked out and I wanted to know if anyone's had a similar experience to me. I said, what happened? And he proceeds to tell me how all night he was having this really vivid dream where he was floating above his body watching himself and me sleep. Just a full out-of-body experience. And no matter where he tried to go in the room while he was having this out-of-body experience, he kept getting dragged to one particular point in the room. And that point was the foot of the bed right in front of me, just watching us. He couldn't go anywhere else. If he tried to, he just got pulled back. And then suddenly he got yanked out of this really deep sleep because the lights in the room were flickering on and off, and they were not like dials or faders. They were on and off switches, and they were in the off position flickering to on, and that really freaked him out. So he turned off the lights, but he felt so unsettled that he decided to take a picture. And I'll put up the picture at the very end, but it's this really weird, unsettling, shadowy figure. And I won't try to skew anybody's opinion one way or another, but it definitely has features, in my opinion. So take a look and tell me what you think, because I have to sleep here one more night and I don't want to cry myself to sleep.
Shortly after she woke up, she discovered her boyfriend had been dealing with something equally disturbing. He described how, while he was sleeping, it felt as though his consciousness had separated from his body entirely. He kept trying to move through the room, but something would pull him back every single time, dragging him toward the foot of the bed. When he finally snapped awake, the lights were flickering on and off around him. Shaken, he grabbed his phone and took a picture of the room. What makes the photo so deeply unsettling is that a large, dark, shadow-like shape appears to be looming right at the foot of the bed, the precise location he described being yanked back to over and over. The two of them are convinced that whatever was in that room was targeting them both. So what's your take on what went down that night? Genuine paranormal activity, or is there a more rational explanation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Adriana was midstream, casually talking with her audience and enjoying some music. Everything seemed completely ordinary until something unexpected brought the whole vibe to a halt. Check out what was captured.
Sape gato, chicos, así una bruja yo. Mañana por San Juan. Esto sí es una bruja. Esto sí es una bruja. Mamá hueva. ¿Estás arrecha, maldita puta? ¿Estás arrecha? ¿Sí? ¿Estás escuchando que todo...
Out of nowhere, a loud crashing sound erupts from directly above her on the roof, and it doesn't let up. Heavy, deliberate thuds keep moving across the top of the house, clear enough to be picked up right through the live stream. Determined to drive whatever it was off, Adriana snatches up a stick and starts pounding back. The sounds go quiet for a brief moment, but sure enough, they pick right back up again. And when she finally works up the nerve to go outside and confront it, what she finds stops her cold.
Salimos, mi gente. Gracias. Salimos. Salimos. ¿Qué es eso? Sale.
The figure's face is pale and grayish, partially concealed under some kind of hood. Adriana is convinced that what she encountered wasn't human. She believes it was a witch, and that the initial crash was the sound of it touching down on her rooftop. She later came forward saying something eerily similar had occurred once before. So what exactly was lurking up there that night? And why did it seem to be fixated on her? Drop your thoughts below. He was jolted awake by the sound of her son sobbing, except he was lying right beside her. A single mom named Michelle had been staying at the Great Wolf Lodge in Mason, Ohio, a place with a reputation among staff and guests alike for being haunted, with reports of shadowy figures and unexplained movement throughout the building. In the dead of night, Michelle was pulled from her sleep by what sounded exactly like her son crying out in fear, calling for her, but when she looked over, her boy was sound asleep right there on the bed next to her. So what exactly was going on? It's the kind of thing that belongs in a horror film. The voice of her child, trembling and frightened, coming from inside the darkened bathroom, calling out for his mom, insisting it was scared, as though something was trying to draw her in there alone. A lot of people who've heard this are convinced it's a mimic, but let me. This shocking and completely unforeseen moment was recorded by a TikTok user going by the name V. Taylor Septem 2, while a real estate agent was walking her through an apartment showing. The unit seemed absolutely flawless at first glance, the kind of place that looks ready for someone to move right in. But things took a sharp turn the moment they began checking the closets. See for yourself what unfolded.
Is that closet?
That's washer dryer hookups.
Yeah, cool. I'm sorry I kicked you.
You look like there's a person in there. There's a person in there?
According to the agent, the apartment was meant to be entirely vacant and move-in ready. But when Taylor pulled open one of those closet doors, there was a man inside, asleep. Her reaction said everything. This was the kind of discovery nobody could ever prepare themselves for. The footage isn't supernatural by any means, but it's deeply disturbing all the same. The burning question remains, what was that man doing in there? Some people in the comments figured he was likely a homeless individual who had slipped inside unnoticed, while others had darker theories, wondering whether his presence was part of something far more calculated. What's your take on what was really happening here? Drop your thoughts below.
You look like
The following video was recorded inside a quiet room one afternoon, with daylight pressing through the blinds and everything looking perfectly still until this happens. The small knob on that cabinet jiggles, briefly, sharply, like something tried to pull it open. According to the owner, this occurred shortly after purchasing an antique mirror from an estate sale and bringing it into the home. The mirror had originally come from an old property clearance, with no known history attached to it. In the days that followed, subtle disturbances were reported around the house, but nothing was captured on camera until this moment. Some viewers suggest a simple explanation: settling wood, internal pressure in the cabinet, or a hidden mechanism like a loose string or latch reacting off-camera. But others point out what makes the clip unsettling is not just the movement itself, but the absence of anything visible causing it. There is no one in frame, no interaction, no follow-through, just a single, isolated motion, and then stillness again. Moral of the story, as the owner later put it, be careful what you bring into your home from estate sales, garage sales, or thrift stores, because sometimes what seems like a simple object can come with more than just history attached to it. The following video series documents what a family claims has been an escalating sequence of paranormal activity inside their home, beginning with something their young son kept trying to tell them, and which they, like most parents would, initially dismissed. The boy had been mentioning someone named Jerry for a while, a name that didn't belong to anyone in the household, and the family assumed it was the kind of invisible friend children invent and eventually forget. Then the security camera caught something that made that explanation a lot harder to hold on to. Watch.
I don't see something. Right here. Here?
No, I don't know.
Here.
What is it, Mona?
Jelly.
Where?
It's right here, next to the gun. It's next to the gun.
What you see is the boy mid-play, suddenly freezing completely still, rigid, alert, visibly frightened, staring at a point off to the right of the frame, where nothing visible to the camera exists. He stays that way for several seconds before running to wake his father, and the moment the man is up, the child points directly at that same spot, insisting something is there. The father investigates and finds nothing. No one believed him. That detail matters, because children under 5 are frequently cited in paranormal research as more perceptive to presences that adults can't detect. Some believe it's because they haven't yet learned to rationalize away what they sense. Others think entities like Jerry, which would traditionally fall under the category of an attachment, a presence that fixates on a specific person in the home, often a child, actively choose younger witnesses precisely because they're more likely to be dismissed. The next morning, the family was going about a completely normal start to the day. The woman washing dishes in the kitchen, the man waiting to refill a container, the boy sitting on the sofa watching a movie. Nothing about it felt unusual. Watch closely.
ये maggots कहाँ से आ रही? What? Maggots, houseflies के जो worms जो आते हैं ना, 2 हैं. इधर है ना? Maggots, not worms. Come and see now. कितना time लगा रही हो? Take on that bitch.
कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? Pick up your puzzle after cleaning. Fast. Remove the puzzle. What? मारो कीड़ों को. बाहर निकले नहीं तो. What? चलो fast. There's a lot of cheating. Just remove everything I need to mop. एक झाड़ू करो एक मॉप करो. Nothing. Later I will tell you. I want clean house.
It's a maggot. Why are you scared? Babes, बच्चा तुमको देख के सीखता है. ड्रामा मत करो.
मुझे रोज से डर लगता है. मुझे नहीं पसंद worms.
A small blue toy on the floor rocks forward and then backward on its own with no one near it. The man is several feet away, and the movement has no obvious cause. It's brief, maybe 2 seconds, but it's distinct. Skeptics would point to vibration from footsteps or an uneven floor, and that's a reasonable argument on its own. But set against what the child had been reacting to the night before, a lot of viewers see this as confirmation that whatever was in that room wasn't done making itself known. Small object movements are one of the most commonly reported early signs of poltergeist-adjacent activity. Not the dramatic, furniture-flinging kind, but a quieter presence testing the space, learning the room. The family says they ignored this too. Things didn't stay quiet. Weeks later, after friends, both Christian and Muslim, suggested playing the Lord's Prayer and Ayatul Kursi to clear the apartment of whatever negative energy had taken hold, the family did exactly that. And according to them, what followed was immediate and deeply disturbing. Listen closely. The man and woman are discovered moving through the apartment in visible distress, searching the floor, bending down, the woman pressing her hand to her mouth in what sounds like genuine panic, her voice high and alarmed, while her husband speaks in a calmer, measured tone, trying to keep her composed so the boy doesn't pick up on her fear. They reportedly found close to 33 maggots appearing throughout the apartment with no traceable source, no rotting food, no entry point, no explanation for where they came from. In certain religious traditions, a sudden and unexplained infestation following a spiritual cleansing is interpreted not as the evil leaving, but as it reacting. a sign that something present in the space was disturbed by the prayers and pushed back. The timing here is what keeps this from being easily explained away. Maggots require a food source and time to develop, and finding them throughout the home within hours of playing those recordings, with no origin point discovered, sits uncomfortably outside what a simple pest problem usually looks like. The woman, we're told, has a phobia of worms, which makes her panic understandable on its own. But the man's calm, systematic search suggests he wasn't dismissing it either. Whatever Jerry is, and whatever has been moving through this apartment, it doesn't seem to be fading. It seems to be escalating. What do you make of that pattern? Now in this next clip, two young women are sitting together at a large wooden dining table late at night, candles lit, a handmade Ouija board laid out in front of them, just a piece of paper with letters written across it, and a small, dark object serving as the planchette. No names have been given, so we'll just call them the dark-haired woman and the blonde. They're speaking throughout in what sounds like Swedish or Norwegian, their voices calm at first, focused, asking questions with their fingers resting lightly on the planchette as it drifts slowly across the paper. Then something shifts. Watch.
Ta ned på god dagen. Det er ikke vitser, det går ikke. Shit! Kødder du nå? Ok, vet du hva? Nå kan jeg få gå hjem, eller? Du kan ikke gå hjem? Nei, jeg tør ikke å gå hjem. Jeg tør ikke å gå hjem. Eller det fletsa seg. Ta det bort, da. Ta det bort, sånn selv. Jeg tør ikke å ha det her nå. Ja, men dere, nå faen, nå er jo han, nå er ånden her da. Nå må dere... Ja, velkommen etter av banen. Tenk hvis han kommer og tar meg da. Fy faen, jeg sitter alene. Faen, og så sitter vi i vinduet også. Hallo, hva skal vi si nå? Jeg fortsetter ikke nå. Jo, kom igjen da. Jeg fortsetter, jeg kan være kjempegøy. Kan dere følge meg hjem, eller? Det er sant. Ja. Jeg skulle aldri vært med på dette, vet du. Det kommer seriøst sånne lysglimt foran skjermen, altså. Det er dritcreepy. Nå trodde jeg døra åpnet seg. Det tingler. Helvete, hele den driten tingler jo. Sjekka.
At first, nothing unusual seems to happen. The movement slows, then stops completely. The women pause and laugh nervously, trying to dismiss the moment, before resetting their hands and placing their fingers back on the board to try again. Some believe that's where things begin to shift. Paranormal researchers who study Ouija activity often caution that participants are supposed to formally close a session before stopping, typically by saying a closing phrase such as "goodbye," to signal that communication has ended. Without that, some believe the session remains open, leaving continued interaction more unpredictable. On their second attempt, the atmosphere appears to change. The glass on the table begins to move unexpectedly, sliding in a way that doesn't match their earlier control of the board. The reaction is immediate: hesitation, uncertainty, and a brief pause as they realize something feels different this time. But they continue anyway, and to many viewers, that decision stands out. Paranormal investigators often warn that continuing after an unusual or unsettling response can intensify the experience, as repeated engagement is believed by some to signal continued contact rather than closure. Whether the movement was coincidence, subtle manipulation, or something else entirely is never made clear in the footage. But what remains consistent is the sense that whatever began during that first session did not fully end when they stopped the first time. This next video was recorded on a Ring doorbell camera at a home the filmer and his partner had purchased from an elderly couple, and at the time it was captured, the two of them were over 100 miles away. The previous owners had been married for 76 years, and according to the filmer, the husband collapsed in the front yard one afternoon while cutting the grass and died on the way to the hospital. So the house had been empty, locked up, with no one inside. And yet, the Ring app sent an alert. Listen closely.
We were over 100 miles away when we heard our Ring doorbell sound, and we were super shocked to listen to the sound. Just wait for it. Sounds like the door is opening, and then there's a voice. We purchased the home from a couple that was married for 76 years. The husband collapsed in the front yard cutting the grass and died on the way to the hospital. I think this is him or his spirit trying to get in and find his wife. It's amazing to be married that long and have...
What you hear first is a sharp, distinct click, the kind of sound a door latch makes when it's being turned from the inside. Then, almost immediately after, a long, low, heavily distorted vocalization bleeds through, drawn out and garbled, like a voice that's been slowed down beyond recognition. The filmer believes it's the husband, still trying to come home and find his wife. That interpretation is hard to shake, honestly, especially when you consider the wedding photograph he shares at the end. A couple posed on a grand staircase, married 76 years, and now separated by something no door can open or close. Skeptics would point to audio buffer corruption as a likely explanation for the distortion, but that click comes first, and it sounds deliberate. This next clip centers on a teenager who, in what looks like a completely darkened room, decided to use a homemade Ouija board, the kind scrawled out by hand on white paper with orange marker, letters and numbers laid out just like any board you'd find in a store. There's no elaborate setup here, no candles, no group of friends crowded around it, just one boy, sitting cross-legged on the floor, a single beam of light trained on the board, and an inverted glass or polished stone acting as the planchette. He rubs his hands together, places one flat on the planchette, and waits. Watch.
I'm here at Grant's house. We're doing a Ouija board session in his basement. Okay, to start off, we're going to do one circle around the board to give any entities power. Are there any spirits with us here tonight? How many spirits are in the room with us? Sorry guys, I'm shaking a little bit. is the name of the second spirit that is with us? Mama? Mama is the name of the second spirit that is with us. Zozo. Zozo. God, dude.
What was that?
What the heck was that? We need to end the session right now. Okay, to end the session, we go goodbye. So, goodbye. Dude, what the heck was that?
Oh my god.
We need to get out of here.
Oh
my god! Oh my god! Oh! Get out of here! What the heck is that?
Within the first 20 seconds, the planchette slides toward yes, and then, slowly and deliberately, begins to spell out BYE, letter by letter, before the session devolves into wide, sweeping arcs across the board. Then, at around a minute and a half in, the camera is violently thrown or dropped, the light beam whipping wildly across the floor before the screen whites out entirely. What makes this harder to dismiss is the sequence itself. Many who've studied Ouija sessions point out that goodbye appearing early in a session, unprompted, is widely considered one of the more unsettling responses, interpreted in some traditions as a spirit refusing further contact, or worse, something signaling it's done communicating and ready to act. The ideomotor effect explains involuntary hand movement, sure, but it doesn't explain what sent that camera across the room. You decide what ended that session so abruptly. Now, in this next clip, a man films himself walking through his home late at night after hearing a noise coming from the kitchen. He explains to the camera, speaking in French, that it's been a while since he last made a video because the strange activity had quieted down, but recently he's been finding drawers open around the house, and tonight was no different. He already found one open when he walked in, closed it himself, and then stood in the kitchen asking out loud, directly addressing whatever might be there, who it was and what it wanted. Then he asked, plainly and quietly, if he could have a response. Watch.
Donc salut tout le monde, je refais une vidéo, j'en ai pas fait depuis longtemps parce que les phénomènes avaient un peu cessé entre guillemets. Bon, je retrouve quand même des tiroirs ouverts de temps en temps, comme là, voilà, je fais une vidéo parce que je viens de voir ça. J'ai entendu du bruit dans la cuisine et du coup bah je suis venu. Ok, vous êtes qui? Qu'est-ce que vous voulez? Est-ce que je peux avoir une réponse s'il vous plaît? Est-ce que vous pouvez partir de chez moi? Ok, bon, je referai un live plus tard.
What unsettles a lot of viewers isn't just the movement itself, but the apparent intelligence behind it. This is what investigators sometimes describe as responsive or intelligent haunting behavior, where the activity doesn't just happen randomly, but seems to react directly to the person present. Skeptics will point to a faulty drawer runner or air pressure from an open window, but he'd already been living with this pattern long enough to know something else was going on. He ends the clip asking whatever's there to leave his home. Whether it listened is another question entirely. The following video was recorded by paranormal investigator Frank, the creator behind Franco TV, a channel widely known for his solo overnight explorations of abandoned locations most people refuse to enter, places with violent histories, forgotten tragedies, and reports so disturbing that even experienced investigators often avoid returning alone. Yet Frank has built his reputation on confronting these places directly, documenting whatever might still be lingering in the darkness. This time, he returns to a monastery he had investigated once before, a place long surrounded by unsettling rumors, where locals claim former monks practiced rituals that went far beyond prayer, and where some believe certain areas were permanently sealed off after unexplained incidents involving members of the clergy who reportedly began hearing voices, seeing figures, and behaving in ways no one could explain. And ever since its abandonment, people who pass near the structure at night have reported the overwhelming feeling of being watched, as if something inside never truly left. Just seconds after arriving, Frank immediately captures something deeply unsettling. Watch.
This is where I was seeing things coming out of here. I just got a sound. That's where my car is. Oh. I just heard something over here. I feel so vulnerable right now. Oh God, it is so cold. Next time I come out here again, I'm gonna have to layer up.
In the darkness, what appears to be a pair of eyes reflects, like something was watching him. And even when he went into the monastery to escape whoever or whatever was watching him, something else happened.
What the hell is that? Oh my God. It's like right there. It's coming from inside here. For sure, it's definitely coming in here. Hola? I have to ask. What if there's somebody in here? The chair's still there in the middle.
Heavy bangs like footsteps carrying weight, the kind of sound that suggests something solid, something physical, moving somewhere, just out of sight. And as Frank searches the area, expecting to find a person, an animal, or at least some logical explanation, he finds nothing. Some believe this could be residual energy, the kind said to replay past movements in places where intense emotional or spiritual events occurred repeatedly over time, while others believe this is something far more aware, something intelligent, something that recognized his presence the moment he arrived and chose not to remain hidden. Because in locations like this, investigators often say the most terrifying moments aren't when you see something clearly. It's when you hear something that should not be there and realize it knows exactly where you are. This next video was recorded during a paranormal investigation in a small town in Jalisco, Mexico, at an old hacienda currently undergoing renovation, a property that, according to locals, carries a history far darker than its crumbling walls suggest, with rumors stretching back generations about buried money hidden somewhere on the land, valuables supposedly concealed during times of conflict, and even more disturbing claims that human remains were discovered on the property years ago, though no one seems to agree on how they got there or who they belonged to. One local resident who grew up near the hacienda described experiences that still unsettle him to this day, especially involving the main staircase, where he would hear slow, deliberate footsteps climbing upward, step by step, as if someone was making their way to the second floor, only for the sound to suddenly stop midway, leaving nothing there when he went to check. No person, no animal, just silence, and a heavy feeling that he was no longer alone. When the investigators arrived, they carefully explored the property, documenting each room, each hallway, each corner where something might be hiding. But for hours, nothing significant happened, and despite the oppressive atmosphere and the constant sense of being watched, there was no clear evidence of movement or presence. And eventually, believing the night would end without incident, they began preparing to leave. But just as they were about to go, something changed. Watch.
Una que está aquí y que es la que se ha manifestado. Esta oración fue para ti y para todas las demás entidades que se encuentran aquí. Yo creo que es momento de retirarnos porque... ¡Ay, no mames, no mames, no mames! ¡Ay! ¡Ay, güey! ¡No mames! Yo vi algo, vamos, ven. Ven, ven, ven. Algo se asomó aquí. Ven, por favor, algo. Córrele, córrele, córrele. ¡Ay! ¡Ay! No mames, ¿qué hay aquí? Córrele, Meli, ven. Ay, no mames. Es que yo aquí vi que se asomó algo, te lo juro. Ay, ¿quién anda aquí? ¿Quién anda aquí? Yo ya no sé. De verdad. No, no hay nada. Ay. No, vámonos ya. Vámonos con cuidado. Es momento de irnos. Es momento de irnos con cuidado. Ay, no. Yo ya quiero salir de aquí, vámonos. Ya no podemos quedarnos más, de verdad es momento de irnos. Qué terrible lugar, un lugar lleno de energía, una energía muy fuerte la que está aquí encerrada y lamentablemente no podemos hacer nada. Ya hicimos una oración, vamos saliendo. Ya hicimos una oración, pero no hay nada más por hacer, porque yo vengo sin un experto.
From behind the truck, something briefly peeks out, a shape that appears and disappears too quickly to fully identify, followed by something even more disturbing, a faint voice, weak, strained, and emotional, sounding almost like someone crying out for help. Some believe this could be the spirit of someone connected to the remains found on the property, possibly someone who died there and was never properly laid to rest, their presence lingering, unable to move on, trapped between worlds and trying to be heard, while others believe the rumors of buried money may be connected, that if something valuable was hidden there long ago, it may have been guarded, and whoever was responsible may never have truly left. There are also those who believe something darker may exist in places like this. Not a trapped soul, but something that imitates distress, something that calls out in human voices to lure the living closer, feeding on curiosity and fear. But until more evidence surfaces, what was hiding behind that truck, and who or what cried out into the darkness, remains a mystery. Now, in this next clip, a man named Samuel, who works at ESTE Villahermosa Hospital, captured a disturbing incident after months of staff quietly complaining that strange and unexplainable things had been happening throughout the building. Hospitals, especially those that operate overnight, are often at the center of paranormal claims, not necessarily because of the building itself, but because of what they represent. According to Samuel, co-workers had reported hearing footsteps in empty corridors, equipment shifting when no one was present, and doors opening slightly on their own during the early hours of the morning, especially between 3 and 4 a.m., a time many refer to as the dead hour, when activity is believed to be at its peak. One night around 3:30 a.m., while working his shift, Samuel heard noises coming from the sample collection area. At first, he assumed it might be another staff member finishing late work, but when the sounds continued, he decided to investigate and record. Watch.
Compañeros, hago este video porque estaba escuchando ruidos aquí atrás. Son las 3:25 de la mañana. No veo nada. Miren. Miren. Acaban de ver eso. Se acaba de caer un bote. Se está moviendo esto. No veo nada. No hay nadie por acá. No hay nadie por acá. A la onda. Miren. Se movió esto. Ahorita que venía caminando por acá. Y no veo a nadie. Miren. 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 Miren cómo se mueve eso. Para que vean que no hay nadie aquí.
Objects can be seen moving and falling off on their own. Some viewers believe the movement resembles the behavior of a child. The way the trolley shifts, the way objects are disturbed, it doesn't seem violent, but curious, almost like something small, interacting with its surroundings without understanding the consequences. But what happened next made the situation even harder to dismiss. Samuel later reviewed the hospital's security camera footage, hoping to find a logical explanation. Instead, he captured something else. Watch. If you look closely, something appears to move toward one of the wards. Moments later, a door opens, like something entered the room. It appears small, so many believe the child's speculation might just be right. But until more footage emerges, and until someone finds a clear explanation, whatever Samuel captured that night remains unexplained. In the following videos, a group of explorers set out to investigate an abandoned house that had been sitting empty for years, its broken windows and rotting walls silently holding whatever history had been left behind. They moved cautiously from room to room, documenting everything, opening doors, checking closets, and shining their flashlights into corners where the darkness seemed unusually thick. But there was one particular room they couldn't access because the door was locked. They tried the handle repeatedly, pushing, pulling, even listening closely to hear if something was moving on the other side, but it wouldn't budge. Eventually, with no way in, they gave up and left cameras behind to monitor the house while they were gone, hoping to capture out evidence of whatever might be inside. This is what the camera caught. An object inside the room suddenly falls over. What makes this moment disturbing is how it was positioned. It wasn't hanging off an edge or placed somewhere unstable. It appeared balanced and undisturbed for hours, and yet it fell without any visible force acting on it. It was as if something invisible had decided to move it. More than a year passed before another investigator named Meguro, along with his partner Kawasaki, decided to return to the same abandoned house. By then, the location had developed a reputation among explorers, many refusing to enter it at all. But Meguro wanted answers. They set up night vision cameras throughout the building and made the risky decision to stay overnight inside. But the night quickly turned into something neither of them expected. Watch.
川崎くん。川崎くん。川崎くん。
目黒さん、目黒さん。
川崎くん。
Meguro tries again and again, pushing harder each time, and soon starts getting an overwhelming sensation, one he later describes as being watched from the other side. And then there's the chair, a single chair that wasn't there earlier, but at the time, what was important was opening the door. After several tense moments, the door finally opened, and Meguro later describes the moment as something he will never forget. Watch.
川崎くん。川崎くん。
People familiar with the building later came forward with disturbing claims. According to them, that particular room is believed to house an entity, one that doesn't simply haunt the space, but watches, waits, and searches for something far more disturbing. A vessel. Some believe entities tied to locations grow weaker over time unless they attach themselves to something living, something capable of carrying them beyond the place they're trapped. Meguro and Kawasaki later warned others to never enter that room again, and after seeing what happened that night, it's not hard to understand why. This next video shows Amanda Sanders, a woman who says the activity inside her home has been escalating in ways she can no longer ignore. At first, the strange things only happened occasionally, subtle enough that she could convince herself there was a logical explanation. But recently, everything changed, and the disturbances are no longer confined to the middle of the night. They're happening in broad daylight, while she's fully awake, fully aware, and unable to dismiss them. What makes this even more unsettling is her dogs. According to Amanda, her dogs have been behaving in ways she's never seen before. They refuse to enter certain rooms. They hide under the bed for hours. Sometimes, they stare into empty spaces and quietly whimper, as if reacting to something invisible standing right in front of them. Sensing something wasn't right, Amanda began recording more often, hoping to capture proof. And during one of those recordings, this happened. Watch.
Alright guys, it's me and Pops right now. It's starting to happen again. I wanted to catch it. My old man's at work. Nobody is in here. Like, what? Alright guys, I'm gonna show you. Let me see if I can get my damn. And there's no way out of my house. This is the only door. This door and my back door, which is back there. Fuck, I don't know how to get a flat, or, hold on. Guys, I'm just have to come in here and turn the light on. Okay. So I just want to find the damn light. Hold on, guys. proof no one is in here. Like, what the is going on? No one's in here, right? Shower. Open the shower and show you. Bathroom. No one's. The door just slammed shut again. What was it, Tootsie? What is it, Toot Toot? Something slammed the door on you, buddy? Come here. Where you going? Okay. Anyway, this is a closet. I can't even open the door on that side. I'll get it open. Hold on. This is my closet. Please excuse me. Vern, are you fucking with that door? Oh my god. What the dude? I don't know. Nothing. Oh, let me go back here to this closet and show you. Ain't nobody in here. It's a bunch of bags. Like, there's nothing in here. Let me open this. What the fuck? No one here, guys. Just me and Pops. What the f***? And the dogs, obviously. Hey, Daisy. What's going on, crazy? Woo!
In the middle of the video, a door suddenly slams shut with force. Moments like this have left her feeling exposed in her own home, unsure whether she's being watched, followed, or something worse. In paranormal cases, escalation during daylight hours is often considered more serious, because it suggests whatever is present no longer needs darkness to operate. And then there's the dogs. Many believe animals don't hide unless they feel threatened. Their instinct is survival. If they're hiding under the bed, refusing to move, it could mean they're trying to escape something they can sense but can't fight. Amanda says she's now considering blessing the home, hoping it might calm whatever is inside or remove it completely. But opinions are divided. Some believe blessing a home can help cleanse negative energy and restore peace, especially if the presence is weak or recently attached. Others warn that attempts to cleanse a space without fully understanding what's there can sometimes provoke more activity, especially if whatever is present resists being removed. There's also the unsettling possibility that the presence isn't tied to the house at all, but to Amanda herself. Until she takes the next step and shares what happens after the blessing, this remains unsolved. This next video shows a disturbing series of unexplained events experienced by a man inside his own home. Events that didn't begin suddenly, but built up slowly over time until they became impossible to ignore. It started with small things, objects not being where he left them, faint knocking sounds coming from empty rooms, and moments where his dog would suddenly stop, stare at nothing, and quietly back away like it sensed something standing there. At first, he tried to ignore it, convincing himself it was just the house settling, or his imagination playing tricks on him. But that changed the day he caught this on camera. Watch.
This is camera recording. Huh. That's oh, jeez. Dude.
The mirror that had been placed securely against the wall suddenly falls on its own, but things didn't stop there. Another time, he captured something even more direct. The door suddenly closes with force. If it wasn't wind and no one else was inside, then the question becomes unavoidable. What closed it? By this point, he was no longer brushing it off. He knew something wasn't right. Then one afternoon, shortly after arriving home, he heard loud banging noises coming from inside. Instead of ignoring it, he immediately set up his camera. Watch this.
Banging noises in here. So that's why I'm setting up the camera right now to find out, what the fuck it is. Max, shut up. Everybody here. That was up against the wall.
A shadow appears on the wall, and though he couldn't capture it on camera, the reaction of the dog is enough to know something or someone was definitely there. Still, nothing prepared him for what came next. One night while he was asleep, his phone somehow took selfies. Not one, but multiple. Watch him out.
Didn't take the picture because it was taken from the end of my bed. One of them, at least. The other one was like next to me. But also, in those pictures, in the first one, sorry. In the first one, there's like another face next to my wife's face. And I was thinking maybe it was like a reflection of my face, but how in the is there going to be a reflection of my face on the pillow? Then on the other one, the other picture, I think my eyes are open. I don't know. I zoomed in. It doesn't look like my eyes are open, but it looks like something's on my eyes. And my hand looked very long. Yeah.
Some believe this could be a camera glitch, a trick of lighting or motion distortion, but others believe something far more disturbing. There's a theory in paranormal cases that entities can manipulate electronics, especially cameras and phones, to capture their presence. Some believe they can even interact with people while they sleep, appearing close enough to be captured without being seen. And if that's true, it would mean whatever is inside his home isn't just moving objects, it's getting closer. Until more footage is captured, and until he finds out what's truly behind these events, one terrifying question remains. Is this something attached to the house, or something attached to him? You decide. The following video was captured by a man who had already grown used to being woken up in the middle of the night by things he couldn't explain, to the point where it had become a routine, something he no longer questioned immediately, but instead documented. Almost as if he knew that whatever was happening would eventually show itself on camera. Before this night, he had been dealing with faint knocks at odd hours, objects shifting slightly out of place, and moments where he would wake up feeling like someone had just been standing over him, watching, only for the room to be completely empty when he fully opened his eyes. Over time, it became harder to ignore, especially when he started hearing low sounds at night, scratching, dragging, and at times something that almost resembled breathing, close enough to feel real, but never visible long enough to confirm. So when it happened again that night, when a loud sound suddenly pulled him out of sleep, he reached for his phone, hoping to finally catch something clear enough to explain it all. What he captured instead only made things worse. Watch. The door creaks open first, slow and deliberate, with no one near it. Then a small black creature lunges onto the bed directly at him, letting out a shriek that doesn't sound like anything domestic, followed by a deep growl. Many would immediately label something like this as a demonic presence, and in many reported cases, it's said that when something like this begins to feel comfortable within a space, when it's no longer hiding or limiting itself to small signs, it can escalate even further, sometimes attempting to influence or even possess the person living there. In this next clip, a man in Chihuahua, Mexico, had been running a studio space he'd been using for work. A cluttered, horror-decorated room filled with vintage masks, a porcelain doll, and a large, ornate mirror. He'd already lost a week's worth of security footage because the cloud trial on his camera system expired before he could save anything locally. Then, on a Tuesday night, while he was away recovering from an eye injury, his security camera triggered a movement alert at 9:10 p.m. He ignored it at first. It wasn't until Thursday that he finally came back to check, and that's when things got harder to dismiss. Watch. The security camera, the kind set to tracking mode, begins panning slowly across the empty room on its own, as if following something invisible. Then, a door that was slightly ajar in the background swings fully shut with deliberate, unhurried force. The doll by your right also moved without anyone in sight touching it. When the man arrives with his handheld camera that same night, he walks to a corner of the floor near the desk, a floor he says he'd left spotless, and points the light downward. Have a look.
Fijé un poco. Yo había dejado limpio. Y hay unas huellas ahí. Esos días hizo bastante frío, hizo mucho frío. Bueno, para que alguien anduviera descalzo, lo dudo mucho. Para la gente de aquí de Chihuahua sabe que no se puede andar uno descalzo en la calle. Y luego miren, yo calzo del 9. Ese pie es enorme, está muy, muy, muy grande. No es mi pie. O sea, la verdad sí está muy, muy grande el pie. Y le digo, ¿oí pasos?
A large, dirty, barefoot print on the floor. He holds his own shoe next to it for comparison. He wears a size 9, and the print is noticeably bigger, both in length and width. There was no sign of forced entry, so from that point on, the debate around what's causing all of this only intensified. Some people are convinced the activity is tied to a large mirror he brought into the studio. According to him, the strange occurrences began almost immediately after the mirror arrived. In paranormal belief, mirrors are often considered portals, reflective surfaces believed to thin the boundary between spaces. Many cultures warn that mirrors can act as gateways, allowing entities to observe, attach, or even pass through. If that's the case here, it could explain the sense of being watched, the movement being tracked, and the idea that something is present without fully manifesting. But others believe the mirror isn't the source, it's the doll. Dolls act as vessels, not necessarily haunted at first, but capable of housing or attracting a presence over time. The fact that the doll moves during the footage and that disturbances seem more physical, doors slamming, objects shifting, leads many to think the doll is what's anchoring whatever is inside that studio. And then there are those who think it isn't one or the other, but both. Some believe the mirror may have opened the door, and the doll became the place where whatever came through decided to stay. Until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved. Now in this next clip, a couple decides to do something many people would strongly advise against. Sitting together in a darkened room, candles flickering around them as they place their hands on a Ouija board and ask whatever might be listening to make itself known. Watch. Before this moment, they had already experienced strange activity in their old apartment, which was located right next to a hospital, a detail that, for many people, immediately raises questions, because places like that are often associated with intense emotional energy, loss, and unresolved moments that some believe can linger. They reported hearing unexplained sounds, feeling watched, and noticing subtle disturbances they couldn't explain, which led them to wonder if something might have attached itself to them. So when they moved into their new place, instead of leaving it behind, they made a decision that would change everything, using the Ouija board to find out if whatever they had experienced before had followed them into this new home. Watch.
Anybody there? Is anybody there? Can you give us a sign? Can you give us a sign? God. Oh my God. There's no way. There's no way. Dude, there's nobody in here. There's nobody in here. What is going on? Oh.
Some viewers believe this confirms their fear, that something from their old apartment may have stayed with them, something that didn't leave when they moved. But others argue something far more unsettling, that it wasn't about something following them at all, but about what they may have invited in at that exact moment by choosing to use the board. And that's where the situation takes a more serious turn. Because people familiar with how these sessions are traditionally handled were quick to point out a critical mistake, something that might seem small but carries heavy implications in paranormal belief. The fact that they removed their hands from the planchette without properly closing the session or saying goodbye. According to those beliefs, that final step isn't optional. It's meant to close whatever line of communication has been opened by skipping it. Many believe they didn't just stop the session, they left it unfinished, leaving what some describe as an open doorway, something that doesn't simply close on its own. On another day, they decided to do it again.
Is anybody there? Is anybody there?
No. We have to get out. We have to get out.
Moments like this are often used as examples when people talk about the risks tied to using a Ouija board, not because of what is guaranteed to happen, but because of what can happen when boundaries aren't understood or respected. The idea isn't just that something might respond, but that once that line is opened, it may not always be clear what exactly is responding, or whether it intends to leave when you're done. And that's the part many people overlook, because it's not always about whether something followed them from before. Sometimes it's about what they may have invited in, without fully understanding how to send it back. This next video was recorded by a man who has been documenting what he describes as an increasingly aggressive haunting inside his home. And by the time this footage begins, He's already terrified before he even reaches the bottom of the stairs. It started with smaller disturbances, noises in the night, his dog refusing to behave normally downstairs, a growing sense that whatever was in the house was no longer passive. He blames the spirits for recent bad luck in his life, including a car accident, and on this particular night, he grabs his phone and heads downstairs because something has set his dog off again. Watch.
Nouvelle vidéo, on entend du bruit, mon chien s'est énervé d'un coup. Devient catastrophique. Les esprits deviennent agressifs. Oui, j'arrive, ma fille. Et pire, c'est qu'ils me portent la poisse. Là, il y a 2 jours, les gendarmes m'ont rentré dans la voiture. Elle était devant chez moi, mais la voiture est épave. Beaucoup de chance. Beaucoup de chance. Et l'excuse, c'est le keuf avait une poussière dans l'œil. Vous y croyez, vous? Ben, moi, malheureusement. Oh putain, c'est quoi ce bordel encore, putain. Ça fait que ça, c'est incroyable. On essaie de trouver des solutions, mais rien qui marche. Cherche, mon chien, cherche. Il y a quelque chose? Oh putain! Ça devient bizarre. What the... Ouais! Putain, ça m'a piqué! Ah! Putain, c'est quoi ça? Mais c'est quoi ce délire? C'est quoi ce délire, putain de merde? Oh là là. Putain, c'est quoi ce délire? Putain de merde. Ça devient n'importe quoi ce baraque. Si vous avez des idées, des conseils. Ah, des idées, des conseils, je suis preneur. Honnêtement, ça... Oh putain, c'était quoi ça? Oh fuck off. Oh sa mère. C'était quoi ça, putain? C'était quoi cette merde? Fille. Ah, putain. Ah, fille, qu'est-ce qui t'arrive? Non. Non. Mais non. C'est quoi ce délire? Mais c'est quoi ce délire, putain de ça? C'est quoi ce what sa mère? Putain. Sa mère.
He claims to feel fingers pressing along his spine, then shouts out in pain as the camera lurches violently, as if something struck him. Then it got worse. The television switches on by itself, blasting loud, dramatic music into the dark room, and his dog stands near the glass door, with her tail tucked, too frightened to move. He uses the remote to shut it off, but within minutes, it turns back on, this time changing channels and raising its own volume, while the remote sits on the floor in front of it. Some viewers immediately pointed to poltergeist activity, a term used to describe a type of disturbance associated with physical force and object manipulation rather than a simple haunting. But the man's response to all of this is what makes the second clip even more unsettling, because rather than leave, he keeps confronting it. Watch.
Prochaine vidéo, j'ai décidé de me battre contre cette chose malveillante.
Horrible. Ça fait un moment que j'ai pas fait de vidéo, mais là ça empire. De jour en jour. Des marques, des griffes. C'est insupportable. Putain. Ah, c'est toi qui me fais peur. Alors, il y a quelqu'un? Putain, c'est insupportable. Putain. Putain, c'est quoi cette merde encore? Non, mais c'est pas possible.
He descends the same staircase again, speaking in a tense, hushed voice, saying things are getting worse day by day. Marks, scratches, unbearable. His dog startles him in the dark. Then a loud bang erupts from somewhere off camera. The camera whips sideways, and from inside a closed toy chest, a child's musical melody begins playing on its own. He opens the lid. The music cuts off the moment he slams it shut. For some viewers, a toy activating inside a sealed chest with no one near it lands differently than anything electronic. It feels deliberate, like something announcing itself. And if that's true, The question isn't whether it's still down there, it's whether it ever planned to stop. Now in this next clip, a man is riding his motorcycle alone down a dark, isolated road at night, heading to a wedding, when something on the roadside stops him cold. At that hour, there's usually nothing to see except the road ahead, so when something appears in the distance, it immediately stands out. Watch.
Fuck, man. Oh, fuck, bastard! Oh, shit! Oh, shit, man! Oh, shit, man! Oh!
As his headlight stretches forward, it catches the outline of a figure walking along the road, tall, pale, and unnaturally still in the way it carries itself, not reacting to the approaching motorcycle, not stepping aside, just continuing forward, like it doesn't even acknowledge him being there. And that's where it starts to feel wrong. Some viewers believe what he encountered could have been a ghost, the kind often described in roadside sightings, figures that appear briefly, usually at night, sometimes tied to past accidents or tragedies, known to show up without warning and disappear just as quickly, leaving the person who saw them questioning what they just experienced. So if you were riding down that same road, alone, and that figure appeared in your headlights, would you slow down and try to understand what you're looking at? Or would you keep going and not look back? Now, in this next video, a man claims that every single night when he returns to his home, something is already there waiting for him, and he decides to prove it. The building itself looks abandoned in stretches, a barrack-style structure at the end of a dark gravel path, lit only by a single street lamp overhead. One night, he hears footsteps like someone running around the house. Shortly after, this happens.
So I'm gonna set up my camera here. I can watch down the hallway.
Some viewers believe this kind of activity points directly to a poltergeist, but until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved. The following clip dates back to June 28, 2013, when a man was at home in Arlington, Virginia, during a powerful storm. With nothing else to do, he picked up his iPhone and began recording the storm from his apartment window, capturing 3 short clips simply to pass the time, with no expectation that anything unusual would come from it. Days later, while going through his phone, he considered deleting the videos, but before doing so, he decided to watch them one last time, and at first, nothing stood out. Everything seemed normal, just flashes of lightning and the outline of the storm outside. But after replaying one of the clips a few more times, something finally caught his attention, something that hadn't been visible to him in the moment while he was recording. Watch. For a brief moment, the faint figure of what appears to be a girl, or possibly a woman, can be seen standing near the window. What makes this detail particularly unsettling is the context surrounding it, because there was no power in the apartment at the time, meaning no internal light source that could create reflections, and directly opposite the window is a solid wall, leaving very little room for the figure to be explained as a reflection from outside. He was also completely alone in the apartment when this was recorded, and more importantly, he did not see or sense anything unusual while filming, which raises the question of how something so visible on camera could go entirely unnoticed in real time. Some interpretations suggest that certain conditions, like storms, power outages, and sudden changes in light, can create the perfect environment for unusual visual anomalies, where shadows and reflections behave in ways that can be easily misinterpreted. However, others believe that moments like this, especially when something appears only on camera and not to the human eye, may point to something that exists outside normal perception, only becoming visible under very specific circumstances. Whatever was captured in that clip remains unexplained, and without further evidence or updates, this incident continues to linger as one of those recordings where something is clearly there, but what it actually is has yet to be determined. In this next video, a cafe that now serves customers every day was once an old hardware store, a place that already carried years of history before it was ever transformed. But what makes this location particularly unsettling isn't just its age, it's what reportedly happened there, because according to accounts tied to the previous owners, the original owner's son passed away inside that very building about 9 years ago, leaving behind a story that didn't end when the place changed hands. The new owners began noticing something strange not long after moving in, because every afternoon at exactly 3 p.m., long after the cafe had closed and everyone had left, they would hear distinct footsteps moving through the space, slow, steady, and consistent, as though someone was walking through the cafe during hours when it should have been completely empty. Curious and unsettled, they decided to set up a camera to see if anything could explain the sounds they had been hearing. This is what they found. If you look closely, something in the frame appears to move, subtle enough to miss at first, but clear enough on replay to suggest that whatever is moving is not part of the normal stillness of the room. In other recordings, they captured additional activity inside the cafe. Watch. In this clip, a chair moves on its own, with no one present in the store at the time, no visible cause, no disturbance in the environment that could explain the motion, which only deepens the unease surrounding what might be happening there. Moments like this begin to shift the narrative from coincidence to pattern, because when movement is repeated in an empty space, especially in a location tied to a past tragedy, it invites speculation that whatever once occupied that space may not have fully left.